All right. Hello, everybody.
Hello, this is weird. I've never done this before. It's intimidating. I don't
We're
know
on
why.
stage
I
for
know.
everyone to watch
This is
and
different.
listen, really.
What's
It
weird is
is
that,
different.
I stream every day, and so I'm used to seeing people's, like usernames in chat. This feels much more, I don't know why this is so much more intimidating.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like a stage, right?
Yeah.
All righty. Well, let's get started. Hello, everyone. So excited to be here today. Thank you for joining both Anne and myself to talk about all things Pride. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Mallory. I'm the Senior Brand Manager at Discord. And throughout the month of June, we've been hosting a series of fireside talks and partnering with some leaders in the community like Anne to discuss what Pride means to them among the various other topics that are super important to the queer community. So before we get started with our Q&A with the amazing AnneMunition, I wanted to share with you all why we're here today. At Discord, we imagine a world where no one has to feel like an outsider. That's why we are doing our part during Pride Month, an annual celebration that brings fellowship, community, and power to millions across the globe. We are on a never ending mission to build belonging, both internally and externally. This means creating an organization that represents the diversity of our communities and the world as a whole. We're marching throughout June under a statement of purpose, Stronger Together. This year for Pride, we've partnered with GLSEN, an organization that ensures LGBTQIA plus students are able to learn and grow in a school environment free from bullying or harassment. In addition to fostering acceptance in educational spaces, GLSEN works to uplift existing student-led movements, empowering events such as the Day of Silence and Ally Week. So head over to glisten.org to check out all of the work they're doing, and especially the work they're doing around the National School Climate Survey, which outlines LGBTQI plus experiences in our nation's schools. Discord's fundraising goal for Pride is to raise over $100,000 for GLSEN through our Tiltify campaign. So far, with your help, we've raised $57,000. Thank you so much for your support. And for those who are interested in donating at least $25, we have created not just one but four Pride themed pins, each with their own unique set of stickers. These bundles will be blind box style with an equal chance to receive one of each of the four styles. So Quick Blend, who is one of our community staff members here at Discord, will drop the links in the chat for those of you who are interested in donating and participating. So with that being said, let's get into it. Um, I honestly feel like Anne doesn't need an intro. So many of you here today are such huge fans. But today we are here with AnneMunition, who has hundreds of thousands of subscribers on Twitch and a presence on YouTube. AnneMunition has such a close relationship with the streamer community and is considered one of the most inspiring gamers in the industry. After pursuing a brief career in graphic design, she turned her passion for gaming into reality and became a full-time streamer in 2015. In January 2020, Anne announced her relationship with her partner and made a commitment to using her platform to support diversity and inclusion and hasn't looked back since. In an industry that regularly faces issues with tolerance, she is a proud member of the LGBTQI plus community and has carved out a community that supports and accepts her. Of course, at Discord, we're founded on a mission that supports those who are different. We value the importance of creating a space to help everyone find belonging. And as someone who personally fosters those beliefs and advocates against intolerance and bullying, I am super excited to be talking with Anne about pride and community acceptance today. So thank you so much for sitting down for this conversation, Anne. Anything that you want to add or say before we dive into questions?
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here, and I hope that this is interesting, I guess. I've mentioned before that I don't really speak about my sexuality or my like private life very often, and so this is kind of a unique thing for me to be doing. So I hope that you guys enjoy it.
We appreciate you being super open with the community today. And so thank you. All right. So you got your first gaming console when you were 7, and so many of us identify with gaming at an early age. Did you sort of see an instant passion, or did that come later for you?
Um, yeah, I always love playing video games. I definitely never imagined that it would turn into, a job, but it was always something that I really enjoyed doing as, with my siblings. And then just by myself, I started playing Halo as a teenager. And my sister and I both were like super into Halo, and we each had like our own Xboxes because we wanted to play at the same time with our own friends. And um, So yeah, no, I'm really I'm excited to have the life that I have now, but no, I never imagined that it would come to this.
Crazy. And you've also noted that, in your streams and the content that you make, that some of your favorite games, are The Witcher 3, Uncharted, Last of Us, and Overwatch. I love those. My personal favorites are Animal Crossing, Bioshock, and Fallout New Vegas. But aside from games, we'd love to hear about any of your hobbies and interests that you have outside of games, and how do those hobbies work with the brand that you've built over the last few years?
Well, honestly, this is always one of the most terrifying questions for me when people ask me what what hobbies do I have besides besides streaming, because streaming just eats up your life and you don't have a lot of time for other things. But before I was a streamer, I was a graphic designer. I did a lot of video editing and that kind of thing, which actually fed really well into becoming a streamer, since I can do like most of my graphic design work. I do a lot of that myself. I like to do video editing stuff sometimes, and so those kinds of creative hobbies fed into that. But mostly it was just, I mean, playing video games is something that I've always loved to do, um, and yeah, so that's my main gig.
I also know that you may be a singer. Is that true, Anne?
Oh yeah, I do. I like to sing. I'm disappointed that Twitch has kind of had to kill the whole Twitch sings thing with all the
Yeah.
DMCA issues, and I wish I could do that more. Um, but hopefully in the future, I've started kind of setting up some space, because like I said, it's streaming really just eats up your whole life, and if you let it, and I think I've kind of let it. So I'm trying to like set up a space for me to work on music, because it's something that I really love to do. And that actually I think is this is like a whole other tangent, but it's kind of a passion that I have, that I think I let other people kind of take away from me. If
Yeah.
I'm honest, because I applied to a music school and I got denied. And I applied again and I got denied again. And so after that, I just kind of was like, well, I guess I suck at this, so I'm just not gonna do it. And I focused on graphic design.
No.
And I let that, I let them take that away from me. And so I really want to put more time into making music and make up for lost time.
Yeah, don't let rejections from any music school stop you from doing that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
don't let them stop you. Awesome. So prior to starting your content creation career, you've had faced a drought in which juggling multiple jobs and university left you no time for gaming. Do you ever face those similar work-life balance challenges now that you're in the gaming industry? And if so, what are the things that you do to sort of take your mind off of the stresses of your career as a gamer?
Well, this kind of ties into the previous question, I guess, about like how, how much time do you actually take
Mm-hmm.
away from streaming? Because and we talk about this on my stream a lot, where it's like anytime that you're on stream, you know that you're gaining viewers, you're gaining subs, you're making content, and the second that you stop doing that, you're just you're not gaining anything. So it's a challenge to kind of pull yourself away from streaming. And I think my work life balance is actually much worse now, even just because it's like when you're self employed, you're the one who's in control of your schedule, which can be great, because you get to decide, if I want to sleep in, I want to work late today, I don't feel like working today. Um, you can uh, make those choices on your own. And the problem is then it's like, well, do I stay up until 2 a.m. every night for a year straight, working on stuff, and then I wake up at 8 a.m. and I never sleep and blah blah blah. So I think it's really hard as a streamer to take control of your
Yeah.
schedule and to not let it overtake your life.
And I'm sure during, obviously we're near the end of the pandemic now, and I know everyone's probably also tired of talking about COVID, which I totally understand, but I can only imagine that, within the last 12 months, working those longer hours and establishing work-life boundaries have, been a little bit more difficult since we've been at home a lot more often.
Yeah, and I'm like a total homebody. I love being at home. I am a nester, like I like having my creature comforts. Um, and I'm not a very extroverted person. And so for me, I'm sure that everyone had the same experience where it was like, oh,
Mhm.
I have to stay home. I can like go to the grocery store and people will bring the groceries to my car and I don't have to go anywhere and like do anything. It sounded great for a while. And then now, man, it is, even for me as somebody who likes not leaving my house, it has been a draining experience. So I'm really glad that people are starting to get vaccinated, and hopefully things will kind of start going toward, I miss going to conventions. Like I used to go to 4 or 5 conventions a year. I used to travel like once a month at least, and I miss doing all of that. So I'm excited to be able to do that again.
I miss it too. PAX West is right around the corner, and apparently that's going to be a physical event. So maybe we'll get to see each other there. That
Yeah.
would be cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna sort of transition into pride-related questions. So
Hmm.
coming out publicly takes a lot of courage and strength. Do you have sort of any advice for those who feel like they don't have the support or the safe space to help do this?
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I think I came out to my mom when I was I think 13, and I kind of knew my mom was going to be okay with it. It was still terrifying. Um but my mom was always somebody who was very open-minded and very accepting of all different types of people, and so I personally I had kind of an okay time of it. And I think it's hard for me because I know that there's some people who just have the complete opposite experience, and I wish that I
Mhm.
had like a silver key that I could just say, this is the way that you do it, and everything will be totally fine. And I think more it's just about living. This sounds this sounds so like it should be on a tea cloth or something, but it's just about like living your own truth and not letting, like,
Mhm.
I mean, I wanted to be a musician and I let somebody take that away from me, and I regret that. I love what I do. I love being a streamer, but I definitely let someone take that away from me. And I think that if you live your whole life under the shadow of somebody else's decisions and somebody else's fears, right? Like somebody like your parents or whoever it is that you're afraid to come out to, they have a fear of what people will think of you or what people will do or how people will treat you, and you can't just, like, I don't know, you can't let other people make those decisions for you, and it's really tough to get past that. I know some people, of course, have like had issues where they like their parents kick them out of the house, and I I don't know. I hope that our generation especially starts bringing us into that direction of that not being a thing anymore and that not being a story for anyone.
Really super powerful. So gaming culture, hasn't always been the most welcoming to the LGBTQI plus community. Did you face any sort of negativity when coming out?
Um, well, it's always been a thing that I mean, I've been streaming for 7 years. I think it's always been a thing that has been kind of a given for me that I never really had like a big coming out. Like as
Mhm.
you mentioned, I posted that photo with my partner, and that was more about like announcing the relationship itself and not about me announcing my sexuality, since it's always been
Yeah.
kind of a thing that I've been honest about. And I mean, of course, I've always, for my entire life, I've been playing video games since I was 7. I've been playing online multiplayer FPS games since I was like 11, and I've always, I mean, always faced negativity. Just about, I mean, not just my sexuality, but pretty much everything. So
Yeah.
it's tough. Gamers do not like people that are not like them.
Yeah, or even just your gender, outside of your sexuality, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So, your approach to combat bullying with kindness is something that, we should all sort of try to emulate. Many of us have been bullied at one time or another. What was that something that you faced growing up or even today? And I know we talked about this a
Hmm.
little bit already, but do you have any sort of other examples or stories to share?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it wasn't about like it's not like it's not that there's just one big moment that you experience that somebody says something
Right.
horrible to you, and that's like the one experience that you have. It's the tiny things that happen just consistently through your whole life. The people just making kind of shitty comments to you or saying negative things or just being hateful in general. I think people that's the thing that kind of starts to chip away at you over time. It's like erosion. It's just erosion over time rather than one giant
Right.
thing.
One moment.
Right. And um yeah, I mean, I faced a lot of that growing up. And one thing that I mean, I it's a lot of people that think that they're just like they're making jokes, like they're just being funny. Um but it's like when I had a guy ask me out one time and I told him that I was not interested in dating a man. And his like first response was like, "Oh, well, if you date a woman, then can I watch?" And
Oh my
he like
God.
he thought he was being funny, right? And so when you say like,
Yeah.
uh, you know, you're that's not funny, then they're like, "Oh, it was just a joke." You know, it's just like I'm just joking around, and you're being, you know, sensitive. And I was 17, I think, at the time. I was in high school. And I mean, that's just how people are when they learn. I mean, it's how some people are when they learn about your sexuality is that they're just like, it becomes, especially with women, I think it becomes like a commodity or um, something to ogle at. And, and I have a lot of problems with, sometimes when I was in college, there's like, I don't know what they call it, like performative sexuality type thing where like people
Mhm.
who like girls at college parties that would make out that are like perfectly straight, but they do it at a party and all these guys are like, you know, I don't know what, like
Googling over
yeah,
that.
like video actually like
Yeah.
videoing with their phones and stuff. And it's like that's so disgusting. And you're making my sexuality something that needs to be like a theater performance when it's like this is just
Mm.
I'm just trying to live my life and yeah, you're making it harder for me by doing that. So that's something that's always existed for me.
Especially with you being so public, you know. Um, but even before, you've sort of had the streaming fruit, it sounds like it's something that you've really been dealing with your whole life.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Unfortunately, you kind of get used to it, to be honest.
yeah.
So,
All right. So, you know this, Pride has always been super special.
mhm.
But, how can we sort of encourage our communities and allies to continue to keep the spotlight on equality and inclusion and human rights far past Pride celebrations? How do you sort of create a safe space for your community to be open and inclusive?
Um, well, I think the first thing is about first um, normalizing people's sexualities and normalizing um, just people like me existing in every community and not making it something that needs to be like I don't know. It's hard because it's like I don't want to go into the territory of like, well, we shouldn't need pride because we should just all be treated, you know, the
Hmm.
same. Because I do think that
Sure.
it's like nice to celebrate the things that make us unique as humans. I do think that in general, I feel like our generation is and the like generations after mine are kind of trending toward being much more accepting of people who are different from them. And that's honestly really nice to see because people ask me that about gaming. They'll say, like, do you think that video gaming is getting better in terms of like the communities and the way that they treat people? And I honestly don't know. With video gaming specifically, I'm not sure. But I do think that our generation is trending toward um, a lot more acceptance of different people. And so for me, the way that I can contribute to that is to hopefully make my community a nice place that people can feel safe to celebrate their differences and to be celebrated. And I can't remember. I'm gonna get the exact wording of this quote wrong, but it's something about like um, I don't know, just the general idea of like leaving a space better than the way that you found it. And even if in my lifetime I don't see everything become perfect and like a utopia and a paradise for LGBTQI people, um, hopefully I can at least nudge it in the right direction.
Definitely. All of the sort of pride related work over, you know, so many of the last few years have brought us to this point. Um, of people being a lot more accepting, especially Gen Z. I think we're seeing a lot more of that. Definitely millennials, and I think even the older generations, opening up and seeing this sort of change.
Yeah.
which is really exciting. So we at Discord are super excited to raise money with the community for GLSEN this year. Giving back has always been something, the LGBTQ plus community has been super great at. Are there any sort of organizations that you feel like are doing great work in the world right now?
Yeah, I think there's a lot, of course, GLSEN, like you mentioned. I think St. Jude is a big one for a lot of people, especially in the like Twitch and gaming communities. I'm actually doing a charity stream tomorrow morning for GCX, which is the like charity marathon that's currently ongoing. And St. Jude is great. I mean, they basically make it so that no parent has to pay anything for a sick child, and so I think a lot of people, of course, like to celebrate that. Um, and to support them with that community or with that goal.
Awesome. That means everybody's got to tune in to the charity stream tomorrow and donate, 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 donate. All right. So you have a community that obviously loves you. And so how has that impacted you as an influencer? And how do you see Discord as being a sort of a different type of safe space?
Um, well, I mean, how has it impacted me as an influencer? It's allowed me to kind of create a new life for myself that's completely different from anything that I could have expected. I went to college, I graduated, I got a job as a graphic designer, and then I started streaming, and it was just it kind of blew up overnight. I mean, it was a labor of love, and it's now been 7 years, but it was something that kind of took me by surprise, and it was nice. I mean, I was never the popular kid in school. I always had trouble making friends, and I never really felt like I was somebody that other people liked to be around. And now I get on stream every day, and there's people whose like usernames I see every day, and they're always, coming to say hi and hang out for like hours. And I think honestly, it's sometimes I get down on myself about streaming, and I forget that people like people show up every day, like you show up every day, and that's I mean, it's awesome. And that's why I miss going to conventions, because those are when you go to conventions
Yeah.
is when you meet the people that are like really excited about you and excited about your content, and it makes you feel good about
But
like because you get the negative comments every day from just like throwaway like usernames and people who don't actually care about your content, and it's easy to let that get to you. And then when you go to conventions, it's like a reminder of how nice, like how the awesome quiet people who are just like quietly enjoying your content. And for Discord specifically, I mean, I like we've talked about how I think like video game communities in general are still, there's still work to be done, and the greater public sometimes doesn't have the nicest things to say about random people, because especially with the anonymity of the internet, it's very easy to just, you know, say whatever you want and basically have like no consequences because you're anonymous. And at Discord, especially when I am able to like create my own Discord, which I can curate, and it's people who are here because they want to celebrate my community and not just my stream. There's people here who I'm pretty sure like don't really watch my stream, and they just want to hang out because the people are nice. And those types of like small tight knit communities, um, it's nice to have access to that. Like it's nice to be able to go to a community like to a community text channel where people aren't going to be like super rude to you all the time, or just like say negative things just for the heck of it because they want to just say negative things because there's people like that they just want to cause trouble. And here, if you cause trouble, then you get kicked out. So it's like we have our own little treehouse, and it's only cool people are allowed.
shout out to all of the moderators here, and not just on Discord, but throughout all of Anne's platforms that, really keep it a safe space for the community.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we've got some community questions that I would love to ask you. You mentioned earlier in our chat that you're an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
Can you sort of tell the community any of your recharging techniques after being around a bunch of people?
Oh yeah, man. Like going to conventions and stuff, that's tough for me. I I go to the conventions, and I it's like I have to mentally prepare myself for the day of walking around and being stopped. And I've talked about this also on stream a little bit, where I've seen people looking at you constantly when you're at a convention. As a person who's an introvert, it is really anxiety inducing. Um, and so for me, it's just about like going to the convention, saying hi to people and talking, and then um, going back to the hotel and just like kind of decompressing by myself, listening to music and that kind of thing whenever I'm walking around. Um, I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and that can be really helpful to like kind of transporting myself away from the situation that is currently, in front of me. But it can definitely be really tough as an introvert.
I will say that as someone who is extroverted, I also need time to recharge after social situations, especially a big convention like PAX. I think that no matter where you are, sort of, introverted or extroverted, everyone needs to rest after a long day of talking to all the people.
Yeah.
Oh, and you mentioned that you're reading audiobooks. Anything that you're currently sort of listening to?
I am a fiend for Star Wars audiobooks, so I have been
Very cool.
actually re-listening to some audiobooks which I have already listened to in the past because one of my favorite Star Wars authors, Timothy Zahn, he's been writing a new trilogy about one of my favorite characters from the Thrawn, from the Star Wars, universe, and his name is Thrawn. And so the second book in the trilogy just came out recently, and so I'm kind of revisiting that. I love
Very
the
cool.
Star Wars audio. If you like Star Wars, man, the Star Wars audiobooks, especially the ones read by Mark Thompson and written by Timothy Zahn, are like primo content. I highly recommend.
Amazing. All right, we've got another question from the community. Have there been positives in the gaming slash streaming communities that you found with talking about or being open about LGBTQI plus issues?
Generally, I feel like the response is pretty, like, really positive. I almost never, I mean, there's like occasionally, you know, some people who will say some rude things, but it's very, very rare. And that's nice. I mean, when you consider I don't know how many, that's like 150,000 people on Twitter. If I say something about being gay, then it's just mostly positivity. Um, and so I think, like I said earlier, it's easy to sometimes focus on those negative voices because they hit so much harder. But I think one of the big challenges of being a streamer is focusing on the many, many kind of more quiet voices that are, championing you and your differences.
Awesome. All right. I believe we have one and final question for you. Do you miss the times when you were sort of a smaller content creator and you had sort of more community nights?
Um, yes and no. I think part of the challenge for me with streaming has been the fact that I feel like sometimes I have like opened myself up to stuff like that in terms of um doing like streaming playing video games with like subscribers and doing community nights and that kind of thing. um and I liked doing that kind of stuff, but there's a lot of interpersonal dynamics that go into streaming that I think people don't realize. It's like when you invite this person but this other guy didn't get invited, or this person didn't get to join, and now they feel like you're not like you're treating them differently or you're trying to avoid them, and it becomes like kind of drama, but you're the only person who's in charge of it, and you're like the one person. It's not like drama between a friend group where there's like five people um who are all kind of having these interpersonal conflicts. It's like one person who's at kind of the head of the table, so to speak, and everyone is looking to you and expecting you to make choices. And I honestly feel like I kind of shut those windows in my house, in my personal house, because I started seeing people kind of saying more negative things, and people expecting me to become their best friend. And there's a kind of an invisible barrier between a streamer and a viewer, and I don't know how to explain it, and I feel sometimes I feel bad that that exists and that I can't, like, for me, some people, they are a viewer of my stream, and it's so hard for me to have them transition from that into being like, I don't know, like more than that, more than just a person who views my stream. And that has been really tough for some people to deal with because they thought, well, we're like, we're
Best
friends.
friends.
We've played games
Yeah,
together, and now like we should be, like we should be best buddies. And it's really hard to manage those kinds of dynamics.
definitely. All right. Well, thank you, Anne, for all of your thoughtful responses. Um, you've been such a huge leader and inspiration in the LGBTQI plus community, and of course the gaming community, the streamer community, all the communities. And so before closing out today, is there anything that you wanted to sort of add or say?
Yeah, two things. One, somebody in the Broadway chat wanted me to shout out their Twitch. It's twitch.tv/AnneMunition. That's my that's the channel. And also, what's
Yes.
wild is doing a stage event is like, first, I was so nervous to start. Second of all, the fact that people were responding instantaneously, I'm so used to the delay on Twitch that I felt like people were responding to me before, like in the future, like before I said something, because it was so fast. That was great. It's in like
That is
real
great.
time.
There's
That's
no lag,
I know,
no
that's
lag
so
like a
weird.
stream. So
That's great.
this is in real time, everybody. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you again, Anne. Whether you're sort of coming together with your community for Pride this year, grabbing some pins, or spreading the word by sharing the Tiltify page to support GLSEN, every little bit helps with Pride. So thank you so much for helping make a world where everyone is free to be themselves. And thank you so much, Anne, for answering all of these questions and being super open with your community. I know it's really difficult, and so we really appreciate you. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you all again next time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mallory, and thank you everyone for joining. I had a really great time, and I hope this was interesting for you guys to listen to. I'll see you around.
See you around, everybody.